We're watching the storms coming through the area here, and they are very strong. Well, severe weather season is upon us, and here at Storm Team 8, we want to keep you safe. Tonight, the entire team is in to break down what you need to know about tornadoes and severe weather here in West Michigan.
Matt Kirkwood is talking recent trends in our tornado count. Terry DeBoer is covering how to stay safe in this modern era. Our newest member, Emily Skydemo, will be showing you just how much damage the different types of intensities of tornadoes can do. And I'll show you what to do if you're trapped outside or in your car during a dangerous storm.
And I'll be back at the end of the program to show you what we can expect this upcoming severe weather season. The Storm Team 8 Severe Weather Special starts right now. If you want to focus on the biggest storms we've ever had here in West Michigan, you have to go back to the last century. The only F5 tornado ever to occur in West Michigan was the Hudsonville-Standale tornado of April 3, 1956. That twister cut a path over 50 miles long through Ottawa, Kent, and Montcalm counties. 17 people lost their lives that day, and another 340 were injured. Winds were estimated to be over 200 miles an hour. And in fact, the strongest wind anywhere on Earth in calendar year 1956 occurred on Van Buren Street in Hudsonville, Michigan. Cars were lifted higher than telephone poles, carried hundreds of yards through the air, and mangled beyond recognition. Tiles were ripped off floors and trees were totally debarked. Three other strong tornadoes hit West Michigan that day. A powerful F4 rated tornado came right off Lake Michigan and destroyed the Saugatuck Lighthouse. Another F4 cut a path 50 miles long from north of Manistee to Grand Traverse Bay. And a strong F3 tornado moved along a 55-mile path from Bangor to just south of Lowell. One of the deadliest tornado outbreaks occurred on Palm Sunday in 1965. A total of 47 tornadoes struck in 6 Midwestern states, including 12 twisters here in Michigan. Across the Midwest, there were 271 fatalities and 1,500 were injured. A tornado touched down near Allendale and intensified quickly to F4 strength, hitting Comstock Park and Rockford. The twister was on the ground for over 20 miles before lifting in Montcalm County. Two deadly tornadoes struck 30 minutes apart that day in Branch and Hillsdale counties. One of those tornadoes had a path of over 90 miles and the second over 80 miles. 21 people lost their lives, over 550 homes and 100 cottages were destroyed by just those two twisters. On April 21, 1967, a fierce F3 tornado cut a path from Granville to East Grand Rapids. There were 32 people injured. A total of 10 tornadoes struck west and central Michigan that day. A tornado hit Kalamazoo on May 13, 1980. The twister first touched down right on the edge of Van Buren County and moved right into the downtown area, uprooting huge trees in Bronson Park. That storm was on the ground for at least 11 miles and was responsible for 5 fatalities and 79 injuries. Now, the worst severe thunderstorm ever to hit West Michigan occurred in the early morning hours of May 31, 1998. Called a Derecho, this line of thunderstorms traveled 975 miles from South Dakota all the way to the Atlantic Ocean in just 15 hours. It moved through lower Michigan at 70 miles an hour. Winds were estimated to be 130 miles an hour at both Walker and Spring Lake. The storm caused 4 fatalities and 146 injuries. Now, that total could have been much worse if not for the storm hitting at 5 a.m. when most people were indoors in safe locations. The storm left 860,000 customers without electricity in lower Michigan. Now, in 1950, less than 74,000 people lived in Ottawa County. Today, the population has soared to 291,000. Tornadoes and severe thunderstorms that moved over open farmland 60 years ago would today hit sprawling residential communities. Now get this, from 1953 to 1977, we had a dozen tornadoes that were ranked F4 or F5. Since 1977, we have had none. We're certainly overdue for a significant tornado to strike somewhere in lower Michigan.
One of the absolute worst places you can be inside a tornado is inside a car. I know it seems safe, but cars are easily picked up and tossed by a tornado, so it's really easy for you to get thrown around by them. Another reason why it's a bad idea, windows. So even if the actual car isn't picked up by the tornado, windows allow for a lot of debris to enter into the vehicle, and it could hurt you or even kill you. Now, another temptation is to find safety under an overpass. With this much concrete, it seems like a safe option, but it's really not. If a tornado were to pass by here right now, what would happen is this structure would actually work to funnel the wind and subject you to even faster wind speeds than if you were just standing out in the tornado on its own. Actually, the safest option isn't an overpass at all. The best option is actually a ditch. If you're low to the ground in a ditch, there's a better chance that any debris or any wind that's flying will fly over you instead of into you. If you find that you're stuck in a car or even a mobile home, a ditch is actually scientifically proven to be a safer choice. Now, of course, the best option is a solid structure, but sometimes a storm can catch us off guard. So when worst comes to worst, if you can't find that solid structure, find somewhere low.
At Storm Team 8, we really do take a team approach when it comes to tracking and covering severe weather. In fact, we are able to keep fully staffed here at all hours of the day and night.
Even though West Michigan has been in a severe weather drought, history shows we have to be prepared.
When severe weather does hit, we can see all sorts of different damage. I'll talk a little bit about tornadoes and the different kinds of damage that they can cause.
And staying connected to those warnings, that is critical. So we will show you exactly how you can stay connected when threatening weather develops through 21st century technology as close to you as your fingertips.
You may or may not realize this, but over the past decade, our severe weather numbers have been down. We consider severe weather with hail an inch in diameter or greater, wind speeds of 58 miles an hour or higher, and of course, anytime there's a tornado. And if you tabulate all those together, dating back to 2000, in Michigan, we average about 520 so events each year. But look over the past 5 years how low the numbers have been, almost half of what we normally get in 2017, 2016, and 2015. The last time we had an above average year was back in 2011. Now that also correlates with tornadoes. We usually get about 16 each year, and over the past decade, tornado numbers are down quite a bit. Back in 2014 and 2010, the last years that we had above average amounts of tornadoes. Michigan is not a big tornado state. We get, again, about 16 tornadoes, and if you take a total sampling of what we average in the United States, right around 1,250 tornadoes, it only represents 0.01% of all the tornadoes in the United States in Michigan. And the news gets better. Most of the tornadoes in Michigan each year are less than EF2 in strength, so mostly EF0, EF1, which is about 110 mile an hour winds or less. But we can get some very big tornadoes, and I'm going to show you and demonstrate that in just a moment. So June is the most active month of 4, and the last EF5 tornado that killed over 100 people in Michigan actually happened in June 1953 in the Flint area. Now in West Michigan, our only EF5 tornado, which my dad actually witnessed, happened on April 3rd, 1956. 17 fatalities, 340 injuries, and went through the Standale, Hudsonville area. Just an incredible, incredible event. And also, about 10 years later, another strong tornado. Actually, this was a family of tornadoes that ripped through the Midwest. This is the Palm Sunday outbreak, and one of those tornadoes in EF4 intensity went right through the Comstock Park area, resulting in 7 fatalities and 200 injuries. And it was even worse around right along the Michigan-Indiana state line. More recently, May 13th, 1980 in Kalamazoo, an EF3 tornado resulted in 5 fatalities down there. And this one was notable as it went right through the heart of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Now, as I mentioned before, tornadoes, they're usually weak here in West Michigan. I think the bigger threat overall, especially when you take the scope of how big the storms are derechos. And one of the most massive derechos and one of the worst severe weather events I can remember is May 31st, 1998, where this derecho line of thunderstorms with very strong straight line winds all the way up to the Straits area, right down to the Michigan-Indiana state line. All the way through this line of thunderstorms, average wind speeds are at least 60 to 80 miles an hour. And there are pockets such as Walker, Michigan, and also Spring Lake that had 130 mile an hour winds, which is well into the EF2 category. So we have to look out for these as well. I wanted to show you this because even though our severe weather numbers have been down over recent years, every year during the warm season, we still get severe weather, at least a couple of episodes. So when that happens, you need to be prepared, and it's our job to make sure you get those warnings out there. You can always rely on Storm Team 8 to track any severe weather.
When you picture a tornado, you probably imagine that rotating funnel cloud moving through empty fields and kicking up debris as it moves along. The question then turns to what's left behind after the storm has passed. We use the Enhanced Fujita scale, or the EF scale, to rate just how destructive a tornado was. The scale starts here with an EF 0, and the numbers climb up until you get to the most destructive rating of all, which is an EF 5. These ratings are assigned after the fact by surveying the damage and estimating the wind speeds. So let's start off with the EF 0. This is the lowest rating on the EF scale, but it still packs a huge punch with estimated wind speeds of 65 to 85 miles per hour. Those winds are strong enough to break large branches off of softwood trees and rip wood or metal roof panels off a small barn. One level up is the EF1 with estimated wind speeds of 86 to 110 miles per hour. Trunks can be snapped off of softwood trees from the force of the wind in an EF1 tornado, and single-wide mobile homes can be rolled to the side. Next is the EF2. Wind speeds are estimated to be between 111 and 135 miles per hour. Single-wide mobile homes can be destroyed in an EF2 tornado, and it's not uncommon to see collapsed canopies over service stations. Severe damage is possible in an EF3 tornado with estimated wind speeds of 136 to 165 miles per hour. Warehouses can be partially or completely destroyed, and roof structures can collapse on apartments and townhomes. The second highest rating possible is an EF4, where winds are estimated to be between 166 to 200 miles per hour. Large isolated retail buildings and strip malls can be completely destroyed by the force of those winds.
It's crossing Bryan
And finally, the most destructive of the ratings is an EF5, where winds are estimated to be anywhere over 200 miles per hour. High-rise buildings could experience significant deformation, large portions of shopping malls could be completely destroyed, and even very strong frame houses can be leveled. The damage is absolutely incredible in a tornado as strong as an EF5. Remember that these ratings aren't assigned until after the tornado has already done its damage. This is why you need to take every tornado warning seriously. The damage can range from a few branches down all the way to complete devastation.
In the event of threatening weather, high wind emergencies, or tornadoes, you'll actually be alerted if you're outside through a network of tornado sirens, like the one you see here. They're located in virtually every community across the country. They're designed to let you know that threatening weather is in the area and you need to take cover. They're designed to be heard if you're outside. If you're inside a building, like your home, and specifically if you're asleep, they're not designed to be strong enough or loud enough to wake you up. That's where you need another device to keep you safe. Either a NOAA weather radio or right at your fingertips. If you have a smartphone, you can download the Storm Team 8 weather app. That way you will immediately be notified through Storm Team 8 that there is threatening weather in your area. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the Storm Team 8 weather app will provide you with that information, including live Doppler network radar.
More tornadoes occur in the United States during the month of May than any other month of the year. Now here in Michigan, our biggest tornado month is the month of June. Michigan averages 16 tornadoes per year. Most of them are classified weak, EF0 or EF1, and are relatively short-lived. Right now we have a strong contrast of temperatures east of the Rockies, with warmer than average weather in the southeast and cooler than average weather in the upper Midwest. That contrast should continue, giving much of the central and eastern United States above average rainfall and above average thunderstorm activity into the month of June. And that includes Michigan. Because of the cooler than average pattern in Michigan, the severe weather has been off to our south for the most part this spring, but that will change as temperatures warm up. The Gulf of Mexico, our source region for moisture, is warmer than average and should provide the fuel for late spring and early summer storms. Severe weather should taper off this year, as it often does during late summer. The greatest threat will be isolated wind damage and flooding, and we'll continue to deal with significantly higher water levels on the Great Lakes. Thanks for watching the Storm Team 8 Severe Weather Special. You can find any of this information again at any time at woodtv.com.